Well, hello everybody. My name is John Grace, and I'm sitting right next to,
Deborah Sutor.
and we'd like to welcome you to part 2 of our video roadshow series for the American Eagle Flight Attendant TA. This video will be concerned with sections 8 through 11. Without any further ado, we'll get right into section 8, which is scheduling, and that, of course, is one of the biggest and most important parts of our contract, and there are a bunch of changes here. The very first change that we have in Section 8 is that we have incorporated the automation side letter.
That simply incorporates all the changes that were previously made to Section 8 when automation came on the property.
Okay, the next addition is that we have added new provisions for reserve line construction.
Yes, we've enhanced the reserve line construction. Really, we didn't have a section for reserve line construction in Section 8. Now we do. And we've also got a new provision that requires the company to build at least one reserve line in each domicile that has all weekends off.
That's actually pretty sweet. We have two new types of reserve lines that will be incorporated into the monthly bid packet. The first one is called a hybrid line, and this is for reserves only. And so, Deb, what's in a hybrid line?
A hybrid line is half of the month would be reserve, but then the other half of the month would be plotted with trips. And this is, we hope, a way to alleviate some of the long-term burden that goes with being on reserve for so long. We know we have a lot of reserves now that have been on the reserve for quite some time. And so while it's not optimal, it'll at least be a change from what it is today. So you'd at least have trips plotted for half of the month.
And the second kind of new reserve line is called a reserve block line, and we've abbreviated that to RBL.
Yes, a reserve block line, this is a little bit harder to describe. Essentially, these lines will have 13 days off. And what they do is they block a whole group of reserve days, a lot of them, into one chunk. And that'll either come into the beginning of the month, or the middle of the month, or the end of the month. And then you'll have a huge block of days off after that. So really what you're kind of doing is grouping most of your reserve days all together, somewhat in the vein of like a part-time line.
Okay, the next enhancement that we have in Section 8 is that we have outlined some additional provisions for the AFA Bidline Construction Committee.
Previously, our Bidline Construction Committee was called the Scheduling Committee, and we realized it was causing a lot of confusion with our membership because those people were getting calls about contract violations. And really, we renamed the committee and enhanced sort of the provisions for them to meet with the company. The Scheduling Committee, or now Bidline Construction Committee, really their job is to work with the company to build the pairings in the bid package every month. So we've more aptly named that and more aptly described what this committee's function is.
Okay, so the next addition in Section 8 is we've added buddy bidding language. As many of you know, the company has agreed to allow buddy bidding for some time. There's a letter on the flight service website that tells you how to do it. Here, we've just cemented that into contract language.
That's right, John. So now you'll have the protection of contract language, and you'll always be able to buddy bid. It'll be your right under the contract.
Okay, next up, we have added some protection for a misrun bid. When bids have been misawarded during the bid cycle, they now contractually will have to be rerun within 24 hours of the bid closing in order for rectification of the errors. Next one, we've added new language, and I believe this is actually from the pilot agreement. We've just kind of stolen some of their stuff for JetBridge transactions, or what are called JetBridge swaps.
That's right. These types of transactions, they're called jetway transactions because they usually happen on the jet bridge, and oftentimes what it will involve a pilot. In this case, it will be a flight attendant that's trying to get to work. Maybe they're a commuter, and so they'll simply, fly the flight back, to the base, and maybe the individual getting off the airplane lives, where the plane has landed. And so they can do a quick swap, and, one of them can work the flight back to the base, and the other one just gets to stay home then. Doesn't have to work the flight back to base.
Right. So the commuting flight attendant would be a pickup for them, and for the flight attendant who was getting off of the flight, it's their their last turn or whatever. They would actually end up sacrificing the flight time, but they would be finishing early at their home. All right. So next up, we have some new provisions for out-of-base transactions. These are pickups and trades, optional exchanges out of domicile.
Yeah, these are all things that we do today, but there really wasn't any contract language, So, just to prevent scheduling from, playing fast and loose with this stuff, we just sort of cemented what the current practices are supposed to be for picking up time out of base and for trip trades out of base. So there's now contract language to solidify that.
Okay, and the next provision is... It's probably not going to be used a whole lot, but I can definitely see where there are times when some folks might want to put it to use. And essentially, what we've added is the ability for an extended flight attendant, someone who's already had an extension, to accept additional flying after their extension responsibilities have completed. Why would this be a good thing? I know some people, and in fact, I'm one of those people from time to time, where if I've been extended and I'm making premium pay and I don't have any plans for the rest of my day or the next day, if there's an opportunity to keep making that premium pay, I'll go ahead and take it for sure. So we've added the ability, the contractual right to do that, to accept additional extended flying at premium pay. Next up, pretty important provision. We now have in our contract that you cannot be junior manned more than 36 hours in advance of the flight.
Yeah, previously there was no limit on how far in advance somebody could be junior manned. So, although I've not seen it actually happen, but theoretically, somebody could be junior manned a week out if they knew that they were really short-staffed. So, now they'll be limited. Crew scheduling will be limited to 36 hours in advance of a junior man.
Okay, thanks, Deb. The next one is kind of complex, but hopefully we can explain this so that it makes some sense. We have added language that limits junior man assignments to a single day, which may or may not include an overnighting leg, so that could stretch into 2 days. But essentially, when you're junior manned, it'll be for 1 day and potentially an overnighting leg. This is important because
we recently had some instances whereby somebody had been junior manned right out of the gate for a 3-day trip. This took all 3 of the flight attendants' days off away from her or him, and now while they will get some of those days back, we just didn't think that was fair. That's just not right, because you can reevaluate on day 2 or day 3 of that trip to see if there are more junior and available people to fly the assignment. Or maybe you just have some regular reserves that would be available now, and so there would be no need to junior man someone for an entire 3-day trip. And so this was a protection against that kind of action by crew scheduling.
Right, and the point there was that on days 2 and 3 of that trip, staffing did not necessitate being junior manned, and yet the person was stuck with it. So now the junior man provision can only be used for 1 day and perhaps an overnighting leg.
Now, the exception to that is going to be a bridge trip because, of course, they can't really get you back always right after the overnighting leg. But we did put a limiter in there that, the flying would be scheduled as soon as you traversed your domicile or came across your domicile again, that you would have to be removed from the assignment.
Alrighty, so the next provision that we have in Section 8 is pay protection for any flying removed due to a junior man or extension.
This means that if you are extended or junior manned and that assignment interferes with flying already scheduled on your line, that's going to provide you not only with the premium pay for the junior man or extension assignment, but it's going to protect you 100% pay for the flying that you lost because of the junior man or extension assignment.
All right. The next one is actually an additional protection as well. Flight attendant must be returned to domicile no later than 18 hours after the scheduled arrival time of the original trip sequence on a return to domicile extension.
Some of you will remember from the company's term sheet that they wanted to eliminate the 18-hour rule after an extension in their term sheet. Not only were we able to get them to drop that, we were able to get them to add the language to return to domicile extensions as well as keep it for regular extensions that occur at the end of your trip.
Okay, one more change in Section 8, and it's going to help those of you who occasionally have need for recordings from scheduling. This new provision will require crew scheduling to keep their recorded conversations available on request for a minimum of 60 days, and currently they're only required to keep them for 30 days. Okay, next up, Section 9, Reserve. Just a few changes here. The first change in Section 9 has to do with time balancing, and the company has asked to implement what they call true time balancing.
What does this mean? Today, we have flight attendants that are credited with time towards their flight time towards their time balancing purposes for uncredited time. So, for example, if you have an unpaid sick day, you're still going to get 3 hours and 45 minutes of time credited for purposes of time balancing. Going forward, the only thing that will be credited for time balancing purposes are paid credited hours. So if you had paid sick time, that would count, but unpaid sick or unpaid family leave will no longer count towards your hours accrued for purposes of time balancing.
Alrighty, the next one is pretty important as well. It's an enhancement. We've gotten the company to agree to reserve call-out time now being 2 hours prior to check-in time. Before this, and actually currently, the 2-hour call-out was from departure time of the aircraft. So with implementation of this agreement, reserve call-out time will now be 2 hours prior to check-in time. Next up, we've clarified the delegation of flight assignments to flight attendants on airport reserve.
There was some confusion when we had people sitting multiple shifts, say standby 1, standby 2. We have overlapping shifts about who gets sent out first. So we've clarified that, and I'm going to refer you to the actual text in the document for that.
Okay, and lastly, in Section 9, Reserve, we've incorporated that reserves, as line holders can today, can request to be released from a deadhead leg on their last leg of an assignment when their next day is a day off. So in other words, if you are on reserve and you're given an assignment where the last leg is a deadhead, and that prior to the deadhead, the city that you wind up in is one that you either live in or is more convenient to commute from, or maybe you want to visit your Aunt Tilly or whatever the case may be, you can forego the deadhead and just stay in that city and be on your way at the end of the assignment. Again, that's provided that you have the next day as a day off. Now on to everybody's favorite section, that is Section 10, Vacation. The first change in Section 10, Vacation, has to do with 1 week being taken unpaid. This is part of our concessionary package, and it will require all flight attendants to take 1 week of unpaid vacation, or if they elect, they can forego the unpaid week and elect to fly instead. This provision is limited to vacations taken in 2013, 2014, and 2015, and we will snap back to normal paid vacation, current book that we have today, in 2016.
Yes, as many of you will remember, per the company's term sheet, they wanted to just flat out eliminate 1 week's paid vacation. So what we've tried to do is a different version of that. And so what we've limited to only 3 years, and we've still allowed you to take the time off if you elect to do that unpaid. If you don't want to forego the pay, that'll be up to you. You don't have to. But at least for those folks that want the extra week of vacation, they can just keep it and it will be unpaid.
Okay, the next part of vacation it's again part of our concessionary package, has to do with the quote-unquote benefits cliff. And essentially your vacation accrual each year will be subject to the benefits cliff, which we will cover in great detail in Section 20. And we'll kind of skip by that for now because it's kind of a long, discussion. And we're going to explain it more fully in Section 20. What is the benefits cliff and how does it work? Next up, we have cemented in the provision that vacation accruals will be posted on the company website prior to the opening of the vacation bid each year. Also, in conjunction with that, vacation awards will also be posted on the company website.
Yes, today the awards are not actually posted anywhere, and so if you believe that you have been misawarded a block of vacation, you really have no way to sort of check that out. So the vacation awards now will be posted on the company website so that you can see.
The next change in Section 10 has to do with what we call touching legs. And as part of our concessionary package, we will no longer receive pay credit for legs that fall outside of the vacation block. The next provision is actually an enhancement to our contract. Beginning January 1st in 2016, the vacation block credit will increase to 21 hours for a vacation block. Today's world, it's 18 hours, or 18.75 hours. So 2016, that'll go up to 21 hours per block. Next, we will have another enhancement, the ability to retain a trip awarded and plotted on your vacation block and receive OT credit. So what we're saying here is, and I do this every year myself, when your vacation week comes and you bid for the month, normally any trips that are contained within that vacation block fall out and get put into a relief line. But you might actually want to fly that trip for the extra money and just work through your vacation. And with this provision, we've given the ability to the flight attendant to do that, to say, I'm going to work through, I just want to retain all my originally awarded flying, and I'll be credited above guarantee for that.
That's right, John. You no longer have to go into open time and pick up, whatever's left over in there if you choose to fly over your vacation. You can actually keep the trip that would originally fall in there. Given your seniority, maybe that's a good trip and you'd like to keep that trip, or maybe you're flying with somebody you like to fly with. You can retain that trip, and you no longer need to go into open time and find, just some other trip that's out there to plug into your vacation block.
All right, the next change is actually, I think, kind of neutral. It was a request by the company to change the timeline for vacation bidding. Under this agreement, the vacation bids will now open on October 1st. They'll close on November 1st, and awards will be posted no later than November 15th each year. The next change in Section 10, we've eliminated the restriction of one vacation trade per year with other flight attendants. Next up, vacation slide now applied to day trips, which is a pretty big one, as well as reserve flight attendants. In addition to that, the vacation slide now can be done forward or backward.
That's right. I think this is a big enhancement for those people that have day trips or days of reserve. Previously, you had no way to sort of maximize your vacation time or pay. And with this slide provision, you'll be able to cover a block of day trips or reserve days in order to do that.
Okay, next we've clarified the language for payment and trade options for flight attendants on a leave of absence.
That's right, John. A flight attendant on a leave and who has vacation that occurs during the leave will have a couple of options here. They can have the days of vacation paid to them. Go ahead and take the pay form. They can rebid the vacation to another available block, or they can trade the vacation with another flight attendant.
Okay, we've also clarified language for deduction of PVDs from the following year's vacation blocks. Additionally, as part of our concessionary package, we have agreed to reduce POs to 1%. Currently, the PO cap in each domicile is 2%, but we've retained the minimum of 2 POs per base. So although the PO cap is being reduced to 1%, those of you in smaller domiciles will still have that minimum of 2 POs per day per base.
Yes, this was a very, very hard pill for all of us to swallow, I guess, on this committee. This is, of course, part of the company's concessionary demands, and they wanted to completely wipe out our POs. And so while, 1% may not seem like much, we at least retained it. And so we're very happy about that.
Okay. Additionally, we've gotten an enhancement where past travel on a PO is now permitted, and that's just something that's cemented into the contract. Additionally, PEs are now permitted during a trip or a wrap or during an airport reserve shift.
That's right, John. Previously, the language said that you can only take a PE if something on the list, the PE list, occurred within 24 hours of your sign-in time. So, if you were out on a trip and, something happened, something happened like, you had a hurricane come through, or a weather event, which is one of the things listed under the PE list, too bad, so sad. You just had to keep going. So now if one of the events occurs during the middle of your trip, you'll also be able to be relieved of your duties.
Okay, and last but certainly not least, we have actually expanded the list of items on the PE list.
That's right. We're going to refer you. There's a little bit of text involved here, but just to give you an example, of one of the changes is we've been able to include domestic partners, where applicable within the list.
You can find the full list posted on www.afaeagle.com. And with that, we are going to move on to the last part of this video, which is Section 11, Sick Leave. Okay, first up in Section 11, sick leave, the first change we have is accruals to be posted on a monthly basis for immediate use, and this is huge.
That's right. Normally, accruals, you work all year to earn your accruals, and they are posted January 1st of the following year. Under the new tentative agreement, each month that you earn will be posted in that month for use so that you can use it.
Right, so no longer do you have to wait all year for your sick time to just magically appear. It will actually accrue each month that you earn it. Next up, we've clarified how reserve sick time is paid out.
That's right, John. There was some confusion in this as well. If a reserve was on a trip or, in the middle of a trip, how they were paid out for sick time. And we didn't want a reserve to have their sick bank depleted unnecessarily, by using huge chunks of, flight time and so forth. So, again, we're going to refer you to the full text document for this because it's a little involved, but we have clarified how your sick time will be deducted from the bank.
Okay, and next one is actually important also. We've clarified how sick calls are handled at outstations.
That's right. Again, it'll be in the contract. These are some of the things that are employed today. But they're not really written anywhere where anybody can see them. So we've done a couple of things. We've put them in the contract where you can read them, see them, know what they are, and now you have a contractual right to them.
And tagging on to that, Deb, the next part is a clarification of sick time flyback provisions. And similarly, this is just cementing in a lot of the current practice and putting it in under the protections of our contract.
That's right, John. Many people don't know that if their sick bank has been depleted, that they could pick up a trip from open time and they could fly it back. In other words, instead of being paid out, they could bank those hours in their sick bank, and they can use that time to replenish a depleted sick bank.
Okay, the next provision has to do again with touching legs. Throughout the agreement, touching leg pay credits have been removed, and that includes here no pay credit for legs that fall outside of a sick day. And last, and again certainly not least, we've changed the sick leave accruals as outlined under Section 20, and here we're referring to the benefits cliff. So your accruals will be geared toward a certain amount of pay credit hours in the previous year. All of that will be covered in Section 20 in great detail.